branch that is breaching constitutional rights is impeachment.
Well, that's good. Yes, it does apply to the president, and also.
Well, because the president is the one who's saying that he can't. The president is the one who's saying he can't adhere to the Supreme Court's decision.
Impeachment is impossible now. Presidential impeachment has been made implausible and impossible because of the Supreme Court ruling. It literally said that a president cannot do anything acting as the president that is illegal. How do you impeach someone? It's done. The American democracy.
No. They never made
the American democracy is Windows.
The Constitution.
2000 and Windows 1998. That's your democracy.
What is it?
Windows 98.
Windows 98. Jeremy, the democracy in USA is perfect. The president can never be wrong. He can never be impeached. He can never be a felon.
That's not democracy.
So it's perfect.
Mao, I agree.
Hold
on. I agree with Mao. Netscape is the best browser ever, and nothing will ever.
Yeah, if he catches you using that Chrome, you're out of here.
What do you mean Chrome? Are you talking about Switzerland or Sweden or Norway?
Now the president.
Democracy.
Now the president can have blowjobs in the Oval Office without anybody fucking minding his business.
Wait a minute. That was the best president we ever had.
No, hold on.
Someone got a blowjob. That was the first time.
How dare you? How dare you?
That was the first time Americans got a tax surplus check. Every American. Every American who was working got a check in the mail.
It was a great time. Everybody has a check, and the president had a blowjob.
Hold on. Guys,
one of the top 10 presidents in the history of the world.
Wait. Joe, are you talking about JFK? Or are you talking about Trump and Biden? I'm so confused. Because both, I don't think JFK gave checks, but I think
no, you don't think so. Talking about Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton wasn't there with COVID.
No,
the COVID checks. Hold on.
No, COVID checks were not tax surplus. They were not tax surplus. Bill Clinton balanced the budget to where tax income was more than government spending, and gave people a tax surplus check. Not their tax returns. A separate tax surplus check. He's the only president to do it. Bill Clinton
the woke left is so, the woke... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, he's the only president to balance the budget.
That's such bullshit.
And then because he got blowed, everybody got
you have to look at the stock market expansion as equivalent with Federal Reserve dollar creation. And under Clinton... Under Clinton and the 2000 dot-com boom, that was the biggest expansion of U.S. dollar supply in American history. So take your bullshit tax check and just throw it out the fucking door. It's meaningless. The country started going into massive amounts of debt under Clinton.
Bullshit.
Oh my God. Hold on.
That's just bullshit.
I am blown away.
That's just fucking dumb.
Joe, hold on. What comedian just did? It's like as if Obama just came on stage.
Yeah, he was like, do you like wax?
No, stop. Please stop, Joe. What he just said was if Obama came up here and started saying fuck you, N-words, you all pieces of shit, I wish I owned you. I am so shocked at the level of engagement, intelligence, and honesty that this man just did. If you know comedian, I'm blown away, brother. Thank you for that, comedian.
Yes.
Fucking A, thank you.
You shed your exoskeleton.
The only president who had a negative, awesome. The only president that has ever had a negative stock market return during his presidency is Richard Nixon, and
Why do you keep talking about stock market?
Because it's tied to the Federal Reserve. We can't have expansive stock market growth unless the Federal Reserve increases the money supply and does quantitative easing and buys up our fucking assets and inflates the shit out of them. That's how we expand the money supply. How the fuck do you think the Federal Reserve does it? That's how they do it.
Yes. Hey, fuck, we're going to get messy up in here. Yes, comedian. Yes.
No, that is true.
That's all. But hold on. Let's talk about what fucking happened in 1971, you fucking bitches. Because you can't talk about the Federal Reserve and moving off the gold standard without addressing the real fucking problem. And the reality of what happened before that and after. No, comedian?
Nope, you can't.
Let's talk about it. The Federal Reserve is not a government agency. Is that fucking weird? Like, it is the fact that the organization that decides how much, who literally plans how much they're going to tax your salary and savings every fucking year. They target 3%. Like, listen to what I just fucking said. A non-governmental agency decides every fucking year how much they're going to target the depreciation of your salary and savings. Is that statement not fucking insane?
Well,
The
it makes
Federal
sense.
Reserve, you're talking
It makes
about that?
sense. It's
Yes.
it's an offset to inflation.
The Federal Reserve is the central bank of the USA, if I'm correct.
It is not a government agency.
No. It's the central bank.
Yes, but it's not a government agency. A non-governmental agency, I will say it again.
But it's part of the state.
Oh, really? Who owns the Federal Reserve?
Wait, Jeremy.
Who controls the Federal
Federal
Reserve?
Reserve, Jeremy?
The
No, you tell me,
Federal
Jeremy.
Reserve is a government agency.
It is not. Go Google it, guys.
It is. It says yes. The Federal Reserve is considered a government agency, but
That's a government company, not a government agency.
Is a
No, Jeremy, tell
Wait a
us.
minute. What the hell? Let me read this. Google fucking.
Yeah, read it. No, read it, Joe. Go ahead. How dare you.
Let me get Google out of my mouth.
Okay, I just got it, Joe. I will just read it. And
Yeah. It says yes. The Federal Reserve is considered a government agency, but with a unique structure. And the second sentence is what gets me. It's an independent agency, not subject to the same budget constraints and political oversight as other federal agencies. While it operates under the authority of Congress, it's designed to be insulated from direct political influence in the monetary political policy decisions. What the fuck? What the fuck?
So,
It's like, are you left-handed? I am left-handed, unless I'm right-handed. And if I choose to be right-handed while I eat steak and left-handed while I jerk off as a stranger, then I'm both.
Oh, come on. You're doing so good. You're doing so good.
Joe, that sounds really Muslim.
okay, let me just read this.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Let me
I
just-
didn't know that.
Okay, hold on. So anyway, this
But
is
it's normal.
from the,
Every central bank is like that in the world.
It gets funding from congressional budgetary process. Its income is primarily from the interest on government securities. Oh shit! This is
here's
stupid.
Okay, hold on a second. So the Federal Reserve, this is from the government fact check. The Federal Banking Authority in the United States that performs the functions of a central bank and is used to implement the country's monetary policy, providing national system of reserve cash available to banks. Created in 1913, the Federal Reserve System consists of 12 Federal Reserve districts, each having a Federal Reserve Bank. These are controlled from the Washington, D.C. by the Federal Reserve Board, consisting of governors appointed by the U.S. President with the Senate approval. So there are 12 of them, actually, so they have the main one in Washington. And anyway, I just wanted to read this if it adds any value.
But again, let's look at their objective. This is the independent organization that Americans have no control over, who decides how much inflation they're going to try to create based on the levers they have. And when I say inflation, what I'm saying is how much they're going to depreciate your salary and savings every fucking year.
Jeremy, let me ask you a really hard, and I'll leave for you too, a really hard and deep philosophical question. Do you think that American capitalism and the design and practice as a byproduct it needs corruption on the highest level? Or it's a byproduct of corruption on the highest level?
It promotes corruption because the only matter that means is that matter is the money. So when money matters, everything else is second place. So it promotes corruption. Not only it's a byproduct, and sadly, the strength of America will be the poison that would kill it. And it's sad because I don't wish that at all.
So hopefully that Trump is Pontius Pilate. That's my only hope for America. That Trump ends up being he ends up stretching this corruption and insider abuse and market manipulation so far that we snap back and correct ourselves 2 decades ago.
But what if corruption is what actually keeps the whole system going? And so, I mean,
Ooh.
you can never
Well,
stop
I mean,
it.
comedian has a point. If you look at the developing underdeveloped countries and other places, corruption is the rule of the land. I mean, all of the government, not all, I say substantially, from top down, they're corrupt. So corruption is not unique to the United States. It is all over the place, unfortunately. Maybe less of that in the States. And by the way, as you well know, 2 months ago, or a month ago actually, Biden executive order, Trump ordered that to eradicate the FCPA, Foreign Corruption Practices Act, which was put in place decades ago by U.S. leading it, and almost all European countries to join this FCPA, and to make sure that the American companies, European countries, they do not use corruption and bribery to get permits and government favors in different countries to build projects. It really worked out successfully because that curtailed or contained the corruption in the host countries where we're hosting different projects. Now that's gone away. And it was kind of unfair practice because in a sense the Chinese, that's their business. They do corrupt everywhere you go. The government leaders and the government agencies to go.
That's not true. The Chinese people are super ethical and very virtuous, Dr. Ali. Why do you shit on the Chinese like that?
Okay, because they deserve to be shit on. So
You don't like egg rolls or orange chicken?
Comedian, I can engage with you on China, but let me just finish. China, I said that like Trump. But anyway, so Joe, to your answer, again, corruption unfortunately is everywhere. We had a piece of legislation or rule, FCPA, now it's gone. So American companies can go ahead and have bribe and corrupt various governments to promote their projects in a sense.
That's true capitalism.
You can't
Ali,
Ali, power.
hold on, go ahead, Ali, if you want to land. Hold on, guys, this is so fucking good. Ali, go ahead and land, and then comedian, I want to hear from you. Go ahead, Ali.
No, really, I don't have anything. But if a comedian wanted to defend China, then that would be a discussion.
Yeah.
Fucking defend them all day long. Go ahead,
Give me an iPhone, bitch.
I wouldn't defend injustice or criminal behavior, but I believe in the Tao and Chinese philosophy, and I don't think Chinese are the worst people in the world, but I'm sure on an index they could also be horrifically terrible.
Get Tao? No.
Please don't interrupt, Dr. Meg. I'm talking about the Tao. The point is, I think everything is actually in a state of like divine perfection and equilibrium. It may not seem that way, especially if you can't pay your bills. But I'm very confident in Trump, and I just think he is so good at being mercurial that and I do think he has America in his heart. Like it's in his best interest.
Did you buy his steaks?
No, I didn't.
He's
but
so good. Did you buy his wine or his perfumes? You're a fucking joke.
Well,
so if you guys will permit me, let me jump in really quickly. Like, I think, because comedian, I'm going to engage with what you said, right? Like the idea that like the U.S. stock market is a gauge of the economic situation. I don't disagree with that. Like I actually agree with that, right? But also the idea that like and Joe or Ali, I think you were talking about it, right? Like the idea that like trade or education between these nations, like Trump is coming out here and taxing Americans more than anyone, and America's power is based on their buying power, right? Like literally what Trump is doing right now is going and saying, like imagine America's a business, and the
Trump
CEO
is
goes and says, hey,
Trump is just a branding expert, Jeremy.
Well, hold on. If America was a company and Trump was a CEO and he said, hey, our best customers, go fuck yourselves. Right? And the suppliers for the components that make us create the things that make us fucking super wealthy, go fuck yourselves. Right? And the people that buy our bonds and enable us to fucking have this failing economy where we have to like spend trillions of dollars on our credit card because we're not profitable, we're losing money.
No, that's wrong.
Who lend us that money, hold on, let me finish. The people who lend us that money, go fuck yourselves. We're not going to trade with you. We're not going to fucking fuck with you anymore.
It's all financial manipulation.
No, America's deficit is
congruent with its economic growth.
Listen, you have to view America. Let me simplify the problem for you very easily. This is a mortgage, okay, that we're paying about $100 billion a month on. Hold on, let me make the point. Dr. Joe, let me make the point. Dr. Joe, I know it's Empire State to you, but the point is, if you're a true American, you have to accept personal responsibility for the debt. If you're a real American, you should be aware of the numbers. The fact is, if we're paying $100 billion a month on a fucking mortgage, and that means month after month, all we can do is try to hack it down. 70 billion. Now we owe 60 billion. But we're never paying the principal. So we are this ship is not float. It's sinking. It is sinking. It is. The numbers are real. It is sinking.
Katie, guys, let's do a cue. Let's do a cue. Joe, no, but hold on, brother. Let's do a cue because it's a good conversation. So, and let's share the stage. So, comedian, Katie, Joe, and then Meg. All right, let's go.
Last, okay.
No,
And Kate, please.
I'm just making the point that if you really look at the amortization table of this mortgage, this ship is sinking. It's not going to keep going forward. But I do believe that if we do take the oil out of the machine, which is the fake money and the instantaneous dollar creation that we seem to be able to do, the whole system will break down because it is global. All the other countries are tied in, so shit rolls downhill, and it's better to be within the perimeter of the Empire State where shit rolls downhill. If you're in Kenya, South Africa, or any other shithole country, I would technically try to break the law to get into the top of the shit pyramid. America is the Empire State. It's a good place to be. We have a tremendous amount of land. We control the perimeter. So we're the biggest empire state on the planet. We have the biggest military in the world. We've got the biggest debt on the world. We got the biggest bullshit artist in the office. We have a theater production company that no other country can match. Our ability to create propaganda and control the narrative and conduct secret operations behind the veil of a theatrical performance, trust me, America's set up for success. It is very, very powerful.
Money talks and bullshit walks. And people will look at the economic result of that. And that show's been going on for a long time. And China just said that, hey, they said, listen, we've been around 5,000 years. I watched this Chinese diplomat talk. He says, we've been around for 5,000 years, but we've been around for thousands of years without America. We don't need America. America's only 15% of our economy, and we don't give a fuck. So,
listen, the now is a compression.
Put up real numbers on stuff.
But Joe,
Yeah, Kate, you jumped out of turn there.
Actually solid. Go ahead, Joe. And comedian, I hate that I agree with about half of what you said. I fucking hate that. And then Meg.
So here's why it's not a fucking mortgage. Because when you get a mortgage, you agree to buy a property for a debt. And that you're not making money on that property. You don't have a business. That property has no economic growth. That doesn't matter. You're paying off a debt that someone helped you purchase it. That is a complete false analogy for government and country deficits. Because what happens with our deficit, and the reason it keeps growing, is because the American economy keeps outputting trillions of dollars. It keeps making money. So other countries will say, hey, I know you owe us money, but you're making a bunch of money, which we trade with. So yeah, we're going to give you more money and help you because you're a money-making endeavor. That's like having a business where you owe money on the business. And you're like, well, I'm not going to pay the debt, but guess what? My receipts this last quarter are ridiculous. I'm making tons of money. Will you lend me more money? Yes, I will. Because you are making more money. That's why it's a fucking stupid analogy.
It's not a business, though. We should have a surplus in this country. Saudi Arabia, Norway, Sweden, these countries have surpluses. We're $40 trillion in debt. We have nothing.
Who cares? We feed the world. We have a very substantial foothold in the world economy. Why do you think we're allowed? Why do you think
we have to file Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, declare national bankruptcy, sovereign bankruptcy, pay and make Congress order the Federal Reserve to pay these countries, and then we dissolve the American government. We shut it all down. We're bankrupt.
Guys, would you be okay if Meg said something? Because I just hate it.
Like, on which day will the United States be
I'm with that. It doesn't matter.
The
Tell me
difference
that
is,
Wait, what if you were making more money?
Joe, are you paying attention to what you're?
No, what if you were making more money?
2081, what are we
Okay,
looking at?
hold on a second. So, sorry, I think Jeremy is asking for Meg to allow her to speak. I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah,
Appreciate
let's
that.
go.
Appreciate that, Ali. Meg?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Well, I think I'm ovulating, so I am looking for a baby daddy.
You know, and this is the problem.
Wait,
Every
just put a
time
Trump
I
t-shirt
try,
on.
every time I try, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
I'm an
fair.
idiot.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Don't.
Go downtown. You'll
No, you're right.
Hey,
Let me
let me
summarize.
debate
Let me
right now. Let me
summarize.
debate.
Let me summarize. Let me summarize. I'm a high school dropout.
Why don't
I'm
you
a
just call
high
that guy
school.
that's like fathered 1,000 children? Like, I'm sure he'll.
I'm a high school dropout. I'm a bad mod. I am so sorry. I'm sorry.
Meg, why do you look like Dennis Quaid with a shaved face?
That's my friend.
Okay, Joe, let me follow up just this. Kate, you want to finish? Go ahead, and I'll go after you. But I wanted to make.
Oh yeah. So what I want to say is that the bottom line is that like who's calling the tab, dude? That's fine. America is the biggest social experiment in human history, and so it's like being at the bar, and I mean nobody called the tab on it, man. So I don't know who can call the tab, but if they call the tab in ways that destabilize the dollar and make us see BRICS, what about BRICS? What is BRICS? That's what BRICS is. So BRICS is pegged 55 to 1, dude. What does BRICS pegged 55 to 1 mean? I don't know. You don't know.
That's a analogy too.
I can tell you.
Obviously, we're in debt. We're trillions of dollars in debt, right? Obviously, it's not analogous to a bar tab. It's not analogous to a mortgage, because the company or the countries that are supplying us items, escorts, imports on debts, they're getting more from the American economy than they are spending on us. That's why they don't call it due. That's why that debt is not the same as you, an individual, borrowing money. I don't know why. I don't know the stupidity. Maybe Jeremy's right about education in America. I don't know the stupidity where it equates a country.
Joe, it's just a complaint about the Federal Reserve taking away American liberty and American voter sovereignty.
Take my turn here now. Hold on a second. I'm going to turn my turn. I think Joe making any.
Just get to your point, Ali.
Let me.
Let me debate.
I'll be grateful if you let me finish. So the point is, yes, there is a budget deficit of 31 or 32 or $3 trillion. That is different from the GDP of the country, which is 23 or 24 trillion dollars is projected for this year. That is the total value of goods and services that America produces.
We don't need to hear the glossary. Just tell us your point, Dr. Ali.
I would appreciate if you just. The point is, Joe making the point is conflating the budget, comedian, the way you're crying and puking over the.
I'm sorry for being a true American, a patriot. I love this country. God bless the USA and God bless Donald Trump.
You called it a mortgage, bro.
Yeah, I know. That is one. So I think they're conflating two things. American companies, they own about 40% of the entire wealth of the globe. Okay, so in a sense, America is the number one powerful economic player in the world. So no matter how high the deficit is, the country, as Joe correctly pointed out, they will work with U.S. They will take the economic power in terms of the GDP of the country. Now I'm going back to the budget again. The problem with the budget, of course, the budget is about $6 trillion per year, and the IRS taking about $4.1 trillion per year. So therefore, the $2 trillion of deficit every year. In the last 15 years, on average, we've had this problem. Hence, the idea of having $30 trillion of deficit. But conflating the two things is just not the right thing, as Joe correctly pointed out.
Hey, so I just asked AI. I said, who owns the United States debt? This is an important point, and then you can jabber off. I asked AI, who owns the United States debt? So the thing is that foreign entities only own 8.5 trillion. Treasury secretaries own 30%. So I don't know. Somehow we owe ourselves like 18 trillion. Somehow we owe
That does
ourselves
not
24
logically
trillion,
make sense.
and we owe
You
everybody
can't
else
actually
nothing.
issue yourself IOUs. You can't do that.
My grandmother brought me a treasury bond, a $20 treasury bond every month until I was 2 years old, right? So I had 24 of them. By the time I was 18, they were worth over $8,000. So
Hey, someone debate me right now.
Listen, the point is, this
So foreign entities can call a $9 trillion bar tab on us.
See, it's not. See, people will say that it's not a mortgage and it's not a bar tab, but the truth is, if you're a patriot and you understand the Constitution and you understand who runs the Federal Reserve and how they run it secretly with no oversight or transparency or clarity or never, it's the song that never ends. Shut up. Look at the cost benefits analysis of how much money is spent to create that much money. Look at the budget of the IRS. Look at the budget of the Federal Reserve. Look at how much money is taken in, how much money is created. The numbers are so skewed. We have financially fucked ourselves, and we're not stopping. They keep borrowing. Congress keeps borrowing. The government keeps borrowing. This is debt out of control. If you don't accept personal responsibility for the debt and talk about the Federal Reserve and Congress, you are not a patriot. You are a traitor to the country. Shame on you. Accept personal responsibility now.
5 knockers and go back into your lower register.
That was me, by the way. And again, like, I enjoy a comedian when he's being genuine, wants to talk, but when he slips into his alter ego, it's just like...
Come on, man, chill out. It's not like, it's not like you have any power or influence over this. I mean, I do, but...
How dare you, Katie?
I have a lobbyist. I could start a whole, like...
Katie, can we hear Stan?
And your
Stan
lobbyist
have
pay
to
your
talk
bar
about
tab?
it. Would you guys be okay if Stan...
And did you say, am I going to pay my lobbyist? Maybe I will. I mean, I don't know.
Would you guys be okay? Can Stan contribute? Go ahead, Stan.
Okay, so first off, since 2010, the assets of the U.S., of the people that live in the U.S., has appreciated from 110 trillion to 240 trillion. Since COVID, they appreciated approximately 40 trillion. The fundamental problem is that during COVID, we were faced with the potential of having another financial disaster, like the global financial crisis of 2008. Instead, we spent money, and it was started before Biden came in office. They ran a big program to try to influence the election, but it also really drove up the deficit. We didn't know how the pandemic was going to play out. And luckily, it didn't play out in the worst case situation, and not as many people died as potentially could have, but unfortunately millions did die. Okay? So what they should have done instead, look, we saved the world. We need to now come and we need to get to pay for saving the world. And U.S. taxpayers, you need to pay more. U.S. asset holders who saw massive appreciation need to fork over some of those gains so that we can take care of the hole that we generated. But what we have is asset holders trying to push the cost of the pandemic on general taxpayers. And that's why we have a big deficit, and that's why the asset holders are trying, and in particular, if you listen closely, Stan Druckenmiller's idea, who is a big asset holder, is you have tariffs to help pay to lower the deficit. The big asset holders are coming after us because they don't want to pay what they rationally should pay. So,
yeah,
so
then the interest rates.
Wait. Okay,
oh,
so
God.
I ran a company that was dependent upon federal funds. So we hired really good lobbyists, and we made sure every time a bill was written, we got our piece written in there. That's not how the U.S. government should work. It not be that hiring expensive lobbyists ensures you millions or tens of millions of dollars in revenue for your company.
So, Stan, let me ask you a question. So I think you can correct me if you have that information. I think about $3 trillion were government issued, gave $3 trillion to individuals and corporations to deal with the negative effects of, COVID. That's only $3 trillion. It's a big number, but the deficit is about 32 or 33 trillion dollars. So I think you probably gave some aspect of why we're dealing with the crisis in terms of a budget deficit, but that does not account for everything. And what accounts for everything, in a sense, as I said before, the budget is about $6.1 trillion each year, roughly. IRS takes in about $4.1 trillion each year. The deficit, because then you've got $2 trillion per year of deficit, which over the course of a decade, it added up to $30 trillion. So what do you think? What do you contribute the rest of the money? I mean, that cannot be COVID money. Cannot be.
Well, I'm saying no. Clearly, we have since approximately 2000, we've been running deficits, and beforehand we had a surplus in Social Security, which actually masked some of the deficits before. But if you look at the IRS information, right now they're estimating that the underpayments on taxes last year were about $750 billion. And you go back, if you add up 15 years of increasing numbers of each year where people pay what they're supposed to pay, you can attribute some of the reasons we have a deficit. So let's just say we take $750 billion, and of the deficit, what if we have a $2 trillion deficit? So a third of the deficit is from people not paying the IRS enough. So you can argue that of the 36 trillion, 12 trillion that is because of our tax policy, and there's a variety of reasons people don't pay enough, but basically it's so complex that companies and high wealth individuals can outsmart the IRS is basically the simplest ways to put it. But there's plenty of data out there, and I don't want to make this room about it. Clearly, we spend more than we bring in. And it's okay to deficit spend to some degree based upon how it works, but not to massively, and right now we're massively overspending. And I'm going to emphasize this very clearly. The people that don't want us to continue spending are the massive asset holders, because they realize at some point people are going to chase them down. So the easiest thing for them to do is make a big to-do about it now and force it onto the general population instead of forcing it onto the big asset holders, because the distribution of assets is heavily skewed to a small segment of people.
All right, thank you for that. Your mama, you can go ahead if you wish. Otherwise, I wanted to just read something really quick, but go ahead. Your mama? Okay. So what I wanted to do, if you don't mind, Jeremy and others, I wanted to read just a little bit some notes that I put together some time ago during the crisis of the COVID and the question of the printing money. So here's what my notes, and I read it to you. I think it's interesting. And this is what for me, hopefully it is for you. There are three ways for government to get money: tax, borrowing, and printing.
Japan, in my view.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the Soviet Union had a strong military industry, but it collapsed in the end.
It didn't collapse. It just consolidated.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Shrunk went into a spore state, I suppose. What you say?
So does anybody have any ideas how to pay back $100 billion a month in interest payments without paying the premium down?
Invest. If you got any money, invest.
I'm making a joke about the U.S. federal government, how it's $40 trillion in debt, paying $100 billion a month. It's the most expensive house in human history.
Yeah.
Anybody have any zits they haven't popped?
No, but I do want to make a fucking TikTok. She looks hot as fuck. The fucking zip popper that I seen online. I mean, give me a.
Anybody here ever dated a dermatologist?
No, but I did have a 74-year-old uncle have a lipoma removed from the back of his neck. Only
Look, Abby's here. How are you doing, Abby? Oh, she left. Did anybody trade in the stock market in the past 2 weeks and make any money?
Affirmative. Today, what do you trade?
I made money on AMD. I bought Tesla on. Sorry, I bought Intel on Friday. Up 10% already. Up on GBT.
Yeah, the fucking Tesla stock is dropping hard, yeah? These motherfuckers are out there fucking firebombing car stores or whatever. It's crazy.
Anybody here open to the dollar's prowess maybe weakening over the next 10, 15 years? Where are you going after that?
Weakening in terms of what? Like purchasing power overseas?
Well, the global reserve status. Obviously, 1964, France was already complaining about not having their gold.
The dollar buys less everywhere. If you go to Europe, you go to Australia, you go to Canada, anywhere. I mean, it buys less over the past 10 years, past 20 years. Like, the value of the dollar just constantly erodes because the U.S. government keeps printing up and borrowing trillions of dollars, eroding the value of the dollar.
Dude, my point is,
Hold on.
What about the BRICS nations, which are not sick?
That's literally not. Dude, this is all bullshit. Dude, if you look at the Chinese yuan versus the U.S. dollar, even though the U.S. has made tons and tons of debt, the U.S. dollar has kicked the shit out of the Chinese yuan. Okay.
So clean his shirt, dirty.
Are you an economist? Shave your grace.
Well, that's just China, though. Do you go?
Like you got the fucking answer.
The point is, nobody wants to go to China to spend their money. They want to go to Australia. They want to go to Europe. They don't want to go to fucking China. They want to go to European countries to spend those dollars, and you can buy less. It just keeps going down. That's the facts.
No,
I'm not doing a comparison with China.
Yeah, of course the dollar is going to go down but compared to what? Compared to.
I'm just talking historically and a chart over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
It goes down.
Yeah,
It's been horrible. And if you look at from
compared
1920, it's like worth a penny. They've degraded the dollar consistently in this country because they borrow the fuck out of it.
I understand that, but if you're comparing countries to countries, the United States dollar is held up better than pretty much every other currency. Not all. The Swiss franc is.
I know, but can't you still complain?
No.
I thought this was a 1-800 complaint line. I'm saying when I was born, I wanted $300,000 in the bank, and I didn't have it. I should have had it, but my government didn't look out for my future. They make me borrow everything. I don't want to borrow it. I just want you to give me the fucking money. Stop spending my money. And who spends all your money? Democrats. Democrats. Every day, more and more money these Democrats are controlling. We want to rip the Democrats away from the dollar. No more Democrat dollars.
Dude, why are you talking like that? Okay, I'm going to bed. Fuck this.
Well,
Listen, you gotta get up tomorrow and ship some packages. Go deliver packages.
No different.
Alright, this is better. So do you think we should tie that dollar to the shekel?
No.
100%.
I would say
If you believe in
gold.
if you believe in Israel, you're the chosen people. Of course you're gonna do that.
That's to blame.
I mean, if you do, does anybody think that the Federal Reserve is like secretly controlled by the Rothschilds or some type of Jewish conspiracy?
Not the Rothschilds. They are more intricate. They're not. If you look at it like the major heads of like banks and fucking whatever, I mean, I'm not gonna point fingers, but it is what it is. You know, you can't fucking run away from the truth. You know, it is a lot of Jewish people. You know, I'm not saying
we got 180 countries.
I know, but this isn't like a Jewish poetry room, right? You're not a Jewish whisperer, right?
I don't think it's all Jew. I think the point of that all Jews is a mistake. There's way more strings being pulled behind the scenes that we have no clue about. And yeah, they keep us in the dark. And left or right, we lose. And I voted for Trump. I know I'm going through the motions type of thing. It's a selection, not an election. I'm well aware of it. But,
yeah, but I mean, you can still participate. You don't have to be a loser. That's a choice.
Yeah, well, I pay taxes, so I just look at the people who are going to take less of my money my hard-earned hours, my blood, sweat, and tears.
I know, but when you see where the money is going, aren't you just up in arms? I mean, when you see that the money is being shipped overseas for woke spending, aren't you just like, this is fucking stupid. This is crazy.
250 years. We got 250 years at this place, and as far as I can tell, whether it's mostly...
Well, this isn't a fucking time machine room. The now is all important. Who cares about 250 years? The now is all that's important.
They're going to use whatever they can. It's like almost a parasitic relationship. They suck what they can. They're done with the nation. They've gotten what they can out of it. They're moving to the... I don't know where they're moving. Maybe it's BRICS. There seems to be 27 countries there.
They? What, some international vampire cabal called They? Hello? Are you even there?
It's just going to be...
Hello?
It's going to be a computer...
They? The International Vampire Parasite Corporation? They just keep floating around. Why am I wasting my time talking to you, Chaz?
What? What's the matter? What did I say?
You said they, a parasitic vampire organization which is going to move to BRICS. I mean, this is stupid conversation for low IQ dumb people who like to waste all their time. Welcome back to another episode of what I call Super Stupid Hypnosis.
What do you mean parasitic vampire organization?
I'm talking about tiny ass, bro.
You talking out your ass? You just cut some cheese? Welcome back to Chillism, otherwise known as Super Stupid Hypnosis.
No, like tiny hat wearing people that control all the money and like been kicked out.
Tiny hat people that control the shekels. Okay, I'm leaving this room. I hope you guys have a good night. This is stupid.
Have a good night.
Then yeah, it is warranted.
So was the timing of that the best when he's actually just trying to engage with the other topic?
So wait, if the best time of all time was Muhammad's time...
No, the now is all important. Now!
The perfect example of how to exhibit...
The now is a compression of all time.
So yeah, he did do, by modern standards, genocide. So what do you want to say?
I just feel like it was kind of tone deaf to try to bring that up at that point because, I mean, at the end of the day, all he was trying to do is just engage with the topic, and I feel like I said, I'm a Christian. I don't agree with what he believes, but I feel like
an economy of the U.S. So on a per capita basis, America should be buying 8 times as much Canadian shit as Americans, and you're not. So you guys, on a per capita basis, you guys are on a surplus with Canada, both in debt and purchasing. And
No, that's wrong. That's why these tariffs are so harmful. Our new construction, America's new construction business relies on 85% of its lumber from Canada. 85%. So these tariffs, I mean, maybe if we were talking before this administration, this would make more sense. But those tariffs, those debts actually enforce free trade. You have money you owe me, I have money I owe you. Let's trade. And let's both grow. Now, because of the tariffs, I'm losing business every day because we can't finance new construction. Because all of our lumber comes from Canada and America. All of it.